So today we've got a video from the Dadvocate that we're going to look at. Now, this brings up a actually two pretty touchy subjects. I think one that the men can relate to, and even one that the women might relate to, or one that maybe the women need to hear. So let's get into it.
The look of disapproval on my husband's face after ruining my face with treatments
Why
again.
does your face look like that?
You like it?
No,
Are you proud of me?
no.
Stop saying men are the ones with unrealistic beauty standards when men don't even like this stuff. We have the same husband. Hates it. 6 weeks later, babe, you're looking so good. 6 weeks later, like when the filler starts to wear out and your face starts to actually look like the woman he married again. I got Botox and my husband told me to stop with the plastic surgery. It's almost like he doesn't like how it looks. Especially lip filler. Even after giving advance notice to avoid the shock factor, he still gives me the most disappointed look and asks, "What did you do to yourself?" Now, I do understand that our spouses do not get full control over our bodies. We don't need their consent to make changes to it, and that's overall a good thing. But I also don't understand why people continue to make changes to their bodies that their spouse finds unnecessary at best, but completely unattractive and wasteful at worst. And if you don't care what your spouse thinks, can we at least stop with the narrative that these beauty standards are exclusively perpetuated by men? Most men in the comments were saying they don't like the look of Botox or lip filler, and yet there were still women saying, yes, you do. But I think the craziest comment I saw was this person who read a Reddit story about this guy whose wife had plastic surgery done to her face, and he wasn't attracted to her anymore, and even tried to do it with the lights off, and she could tell that something was off, but he didn't know how to tell her he wasn't attracted to her anymore, and they were like, I think this might be the guy. Men very rarely say they don't like something without meaning it. You can keep ignoring him if you want, but when the day finally comes that he just straight up says he's not attracted to you anymore, I don't know if you're allowed to be mad about it.
All right, so for starters, you hear the word again, right? She went and ruined her face with treatments again, which means that this has been a recurring theme, which means she's most likely doing it mainly to get his reaction for content. We could talk about that separately. Now, the subject came up obviously of men and how they dislike the lip fillers and the Botox and all of that. Generally speaking, I know there are some men that like the women to get fake boobs, but past that, I've never met a man, never seen one online who said, yeah, I actually like the Botox and the lip filler on the women. They do that exclusively for themselves, despite what they say. Now, the part that created a little bit of discussion in the comments was the part where she talked about how our spouse, our partner, does not have full control over our bodies, that we have full bodily autonomy. And there was several people that disagreed with her. One guy got a little bit biblical. It was mostly men that were disagreeing that I saw, but there were people that felt like when you're in a relationship, you actually do have control over that person's body. Now, I believe that this is a scenario, and I've talked about this on the channel before. I think this is something where men and women define the words differently. Now, I'll give you an example in the reverse gender. I'm bald, right? Okay, there's no hair there. Now, if I let this hair go, okay, I'm going to have the full ring around this, all this from about here all the way down, and from about here all the way back is still pretty thick. But I'm going to have that ring, and I'm going to have the bald spot up in here. Now, I shave about every third day. I don't shave with a blade. I have a skull shaver every third day or so. Sometimes I'll let it go sometimes maybe every other day. But I'll shave it when I feel like I don't like the way I look any longer. My girlfriend prefers me to have some hair here on this side because she likes the texture of rubbing her hands on my head. I actually like it too. Now, for her, she's really doesn't really care if I let it grow out to the point where this is all dark and you can clearly see the ring in the bald spot. She wouldn't care because she'd get to sit there and play with my fuzzy head. I don't feel comfortable like that. I'm not going out in public with the ring around my head. That's my dad. That's not me. That's why I shave my head. Now, is she controlling me, and is she controlling what I'm doing with my body? Well, there's different ways you can look at this, right? So the way that I look at it, number one, is I will let it grow out to a point so that she gets to have the days where she's rubbing my hair the way she wants. But then when I get uncomfortable with how I look, I will trim it. She'll be like, oh, and I'll be like, well, tomorrow the hair will be back. You know what I mean? It's not a long wait. So it's not a permanent change for like lip filler and Botox. Now, what I don't do, and this is where men and women will differ, especially in the word control. What I don't do that some women will do, I've had women do this. In fact, the other two relationships I've had would have both done something similar. If I would have said, if she would have come to me and said, well, I want to shave half my hair, shave half my head and color the other half purple. And I'm like, what? Why? No, don't do that. Don't do that. The women sometimes in turn will then say, well, you can't control me, and go shave their head and color the other half purple, and then get disappointed like this woman in the video when we already, I told you not. Why would you do that? What have you done to your face? I believe is what the man said. So when the word control is used, I think women view that as a man controlling them, as physically telling them, no, you cannot do that, and holding them back physically and not allowing them to do something. Where with a man, we view it as we need to control ourselves. That's the difference. As for me, the way I view my hair thing with the way my girlfriend likes it is that, okay, I'm going to control myself. I'm not going to say, oh, you don't get to control me and shave with the blade twice a day. Why would I want to do that? Right? I'm going to nick myself up. I'm not going to be comfortable. And she misses out on the couple of days where the hair is long and she likes it. That to me seems to be the difference, where a man will feel, we're not worried about feeling controlled, right? So instead of saying, well, she ain't going to control me, we will compromise and say, okay, well, this is what I can do. I can meet you halfway, or I can meet you 75% of the way. Women over the years have had more of a concern about being controlled. And so anything that they view as the man trying to control them, instead of having self-regulation, instead of controlling themselves, they will then say, oh, well, you can't control me. Now I done shaved my head and half of it's purple. Now, of course, that's an extreme example because there's nobody in the magazines telling the women that shaving your head and dyeing the rest of it purple is a look that the men like. Now, that's the separate parts of this, is that the whole lip filler, the whole Botox thing, what I will say in defense of some of that industry, I will say that as a man who is, I'm older, so the women that I would have been dating would have been older. If a woman cannot destroy her face, but get work done to get rid of the double chin, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. If a woman could not, ruin her face, but get that, that nice square jaw back again, for me personally, I'm not going to be like, ew, why would you want to, have anything done to your body that way? Because I believe for me, that would be an improvement. Now, the Botox, the lip filler is the biggest thing. For the longest time, before lip filler became the big fad, the women would all have their Facebook pictures, and it would just to say that it grates on the eyeballs of just about every man I've ever known is an understatement. But then they figured out, oh, we can just inject our lips full of this crap and walk around looking like that all day. Never met a man that enjoys that. Never met a man, and the same thing. Now that I'm talking about, women my age, the eyebrows, like their eyebrows end up here, and they're like horseshoe shaped, right? They're like horseshoes, and they're halfway up the forehead. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? And so those types of things, women, please, no, we don't like it. You're wasting your money. Sometimes you're wasting your man's money. Now, the nails, I guess there's some guys that like the nails. I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. I believe at least 75, 80% of men probably don't care about your nails as long as they're not, you're not biting them down and they're nasty and crusty and stuff. But to go spend the money on the big dragon nails and you click, 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 oh, yeah, the click. The click, click is just as bad as nails on a chalkboard most of the time, especially if you're sitting in the same room with the woman and she's on her laptop, clackety, clackety, clack. No, headphones, earplugs, headphones, acid rock. You see what I'm saying? So what I found interesting about this was, first of all, there was a few men that had the courage to go into the comments and say, no, we actually, we spouses do have control. Now, I don't necessarily feel, I understand from a woman's perspective how the sentence, a man should have control over your body, probably don't sound right, right? Like that's not exactly what men mean when we feel like we should have control. What we mean by that is if you ask us, hey, should I get my lip filler done? Or I'm going to get some lip filler done, or I'm going to get some Botox. And we tell you, I find that offensive. I find it repulsive. I'm not going to like it. Please don't do it. The control that we expect is for you to control yourself and have respect for us by saying, okay, well, it's something I'd like to do, but I know that it's going to bother him. He's going to find it unattractive. He won't like it. So I will control myself and not do it, as opposed to the attitude of, well, you don't get to control me, and you go and do it anyway. And then you know how he's going to react because you've done it before. And then you film him and post the reaction to TikTok. That's divorceable. That's easy. Now, of course, he's probably sitting there. He's got wife and kids and all of that. So you can't just divorce the woman because her lips look like mackerel. But the entire attitude, the entire thing of knowing he's not going to like it, filming his reaction, posting it for reaction to the internet, unless it's a skit and the man is just playing along, that's the type of thing that a couple of years later, the woman's going to be crying on TikTok and wanting to know where all the good men were. It's like, well, you made yourself look like a bloated fish. The good man went down to the pier and decided to catch a real one instead.